Well, we just wrapped up our 14th practice out of 15, and yeah, why don't we close that? Great. 14th out of 15th practice, and so, you know, from a perspective of, you know, did you achieve the things that you want to achieve? Did you make the progress that you wanted to make? You know, certainly we have a better sense of the areas that we need to get better in. Certainly players that we're counting on to play more prominent roles from last year. I think we walk away with, you know, clearly a better feel for our football team and the areas that we have to really strengthen going into the off season. So, you know, what does that mean particularly? I think we all clearly understand that the team itself is better balanced offensively and defensively. I think last year it was pretty clear that, you know, we were trying to fit in a lot of transfers out of the portal on defense. There's a lot more continuity on defense, and certainly from an offensive perspective, we've lost some players, but it's pretty clear with an offensive line, tight ends, a quarterback, and a deep receiving core that we're going to have some success on offense as well. So we'll do a deeper dive here, you know, after the spring game and give you a better sense. But a good spring, a healthy spring. We had no injuries of any kind. We still have another game, you know, or another practice and spring game to go through. But all in all, I think we walk away here with a better understanding of our football team and the strengths and weaknesses and where we need to go in the offseason.
Hey, Coach, do you feel like the pass defense has improved in terms of, is the coverage getting tighter? We're hearing that there's more intercepted passes at practice. Are you seeing that improvement in the secondary?
There's no doubt there's a compete level for the football that was lacking last year, and let's put it in context. We were playing with freshmen, you know, at corner at probably a good portion of the season, and so, you know, they were hesitant to play, you know, an aggressive style of defense. I just think you have some players there with more confidence in the ability to do so. I think you've got, you know, some veteran safeties back there that, you know, are playing, you know, with a lot more, I think, experience and confidence. So I think a combination of experience, confidence, and just overall athleticism has helped that this spring.
Brian, as you go into the offseason, like you said, kind of evaluating this roster, other than maybe defensive tackle, are there positions that y'all might target in the transfer portal?
I don't see any other positions that we need to be in the transfer portal for other than the defensive tackle position, really.
Hey, Coach, just we know that what Mason Taylor kind of brings to the table, but just what about the development of Mac Markway and Kamorian Pimpton to second-year tight ends? Just how have they grown this second offseason in the program?
Well, I think with KP, I think it's I think we've always felt like he was going to be, you know, a dynamic presence as a pass catcher. I think it was feeling more comfortable within, you know, the structure of the offense and understanding what to do and how to do it. And then becoming more physical as an inline presence as a blocker. And I think he's established that this spring. Where will he unseat Mason? No. But can he complement him? Yes. And if ever that we needed him to go in there as the singular tight end, he can do the jobs. And I think that that's what we needed to see from him. I think what we see from Mac is a guy that has improved in the pass catching and route running. And I think more than anything else, awareness in the passing game. I thought that there was a lack of awareness at times in the passing game. Now crossing routes and dig routes and things of that nature, there's a much better awareness. And he continues to get better in the run game. So I think we're really pleased with the development of both of them and Mason as well. I mean, he's a player that we're going to count on much more than we did last year. I mean, he's going to be a central figure in what we do, and Garrett looks to him as well. And so I think that in this offense, the tight end will be featured quite regularly.
Yeah, Brian, what do you hope to get out of the spring game, and how many plays you figure you may run, tomorrow, Saturday?
Yeah, we'll split it like we did last year, where it'll be an offense versus the defense, and that kind of crazy scoring thing. And it's really not about the scoring as much as it is about giving certain players that are in key positions the opportunity to compete. Like, we want to see some of our frontline guys go out and compete and play, but they're not they're not for us the most important players out there. We want to see KP, right? We want to see him in some key. We need to see the two running backs. In particular, we need to see the offensive linemen that are going to play key roles. And so there are key players that need to really get a lot of work in this game that we're, I think, focused on. And I think on both sides of the ball, as the game unfolds, you'll see a lot of them, and you'll know, okay, they're really auditioning that particular player today. And there'll be other guys that get a quick hook and go, all right, they got a pretty good sense of where he is.
Coach, at the safety position, you have a lot of local guys at that spot. Just curious about McBride and Rogers coming straight out of high school into the spring. How are they doing so far?
Really well. Rogers has been a little bit limited because of the shoulder, so he hasn't been allowed to have the contact, but he's been in, virtually all the drills, and, he's starting to, find his way and feel more comfortable, and he's gotten a lot of work in the last probably week or so, and I think he's going to be a fine player for us. McBride, on the other hand, is rangy, athletic, and he's a guy that's going to factor in. He's one that you'll see a lot of, right, on Saturday. And we're excited about his future. I think he's got a bright future, so you'll see a lot of him on Saturday.
Hey, Coach. I know it's a new, but familiar with defensive staff overall. Just what have you really seen from that defensive staff as far as communication, camaraderie, just working with each other throughout the spring?
Well, they know each other, right? I mean, Blake and Bo, worked together. Kevin worked with Blake, and Jake. So these are guys that, weren't plucked out of, different, areas and didn't know each other. So there was a natural fit there with all of them. And that's obviously a positive. They're demanding. But they're not demeaning in any way. And they coach their guys hard. But it's LSU, and we need to bring LSU's, defensive, persona back. And so I think they're doing a really good job and getting our defense to play the level they need to. We need to continue to recruit. We need to continue to develop. But I like the energy. I like the way our players have responded this spring, and I expect our defense to continue to get better.
The offensive line is going to be the strength of this team, especially with all the experience returning. Kyron Lacey seems to be that wide receiver one for you. Who has stood out on the offensive side, one or two players, and why?
Chris Hinton's had a really good spring. I think, I've talked about Kyron, but Chris Hinton's been really solid for us. I think the last week, C.J. Daniels has really settled in nicely. You can see his veteran kind of experience starting to show as he gets more comfortable within our offense. I think, it's just there's a lot of depth. I think Aaron Anderson's had a really good spring for us, and he'll contribute to what we're doing. I just like the depth of the wide receiver, core in itself. There's probably seven guys that can contribute, but Chris and certainly Kyron, CJ. I think Sampson's had a good spring. He's beginning to emerge. We're going to be in a pretty good spot there at the wide receiver position, offensive line, tight end. I think, really developing the number 2 quarterback. There's another area that you really should pay attention to. I mean, there's a battle going on there right now for that number 2 position. AJ and Ricky are battling that out right now. They're going to play a lot on Saturday, and that's a pretty good battle right now. So getting that one to kind of come together as well will be another thing. But that's what I like on the offense right now.
You see Harold Perkins and Greg Penn working a lot inside linebacker. Just wondering where Whit Weeks fits in his second offseason. Obviously, somebody who's a great athlete and got a lot of playing time for you guys last year.
They're all going to play. And Blake, I think, made this clear. Was he in front of the group last week or this week? I mean, all those guys have to be in a rotation. And Wes Weeks had a great spring. I mean, not a good spring, a great spring. So I think you're going to see a presence of all those guys, and certainly then it becomes down in distance, relative who's going to be fighting to get on third down. These guys are going to be fighting for third down, but there's enough reps for everybody. We're going to keep them fresh. We're going to keep them active. They're all going to impact what we do, but I think if there is an area where we have depth and we have a high level of confidence, it's at the linebacker position right now, and feel really good about it. Feel really good about our edge in terms of the defensive ends. I think we're really making great progress in the back end. As was asked earlier, we have to be able to continue to recruit and develop at the defensive tackle position.
How about a kicker question today?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Ramos, he improved year 1 to year 2. It looked like his percentages and whatnot. What are you seeing out of him going into his third year to this year?
Yeah, he's had a really good offseason. In terms of, the numbers last year were fabulous, right? I mean, if he gets the kick against Missouri, which we still argue was a good kick, they didn't feel like it. I guess it was too high for him. He finishes right behind the kicker from Alabama in terms of percentages, so 13 for 15. He was, 70, I think. Yeah, 80%, but he could have been 85, with that kick we were factoring in there, and he's top 15 in the country. And then, 77 for 77, pretty darn good efficiency. So we feel good about him. The operation, is one that, obviously is we feel good about what we're doing there from an operation standpoint, but I think that looked really good this spring, PAT field goal. So I feel good about it. Good. Thank you. We'll see you on Saturday.